When temperatures reach the high 80s into the 90s and of course over 100, firefighters, we go into something called a one bottle scenario. So they use only one bottle, and then after that one bottle they go into rehab. So we do more active cooling versus passive cooling. Passive cooling is you just sit down and relax. Active cooling, we're doing something else to you. We're trying to keep you from going into any type of heat stress. So we're using a mist sprayer on you. We have cold towels that we'll put on your head and your arms. You can also dip someone's forearm into cold water, and that'll also help lower their core body temperature. So we're trying to keep their core body temperature as close to normal as possible. That keeps them from getting any type of heat stress and the need to have to go to the hospital or be dehydrated.
Right. Okay, so when you say one bottle, are you referring to a bottle of water, or what is that?
Oh, it's a bottle of air, yes.
Bottle of air.
So
okay.
lasts somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes, depending on how much exertion they're putting out. So they go in, the crews, they come out, and then we have a fresh crew. So a lot of times in the summer months, we'll have more second alarms, and it's mainly a manpower, and nothing against women, but a manpower second alarm. And so that we have enough people on duty and on the scene so that the extinguishment of the fire can continue, but just with switching out crews more often so the guys aren't depleted.
I see. Yeah, Randy did mention something about a 2-alarm call, and we kind of explained that, but can you just explain in layman's terms what a 2-alarm call is?
Second alarm call, so 1 alarm fire, you get 3 engines, 1 ladder truck, 1 battalion chief. On the second alarm, you get 2 additional engines and another ladder. So today was a second alarm. The heat, fortunately, it was an early morning fire, so it did not have the 100-degree temperature. However, in this particular case, the fire had smoldered for a long time, and so it was high heat inside of the facility. And then they put on all of their gear on top of it, which don't allow their body to sweat very much, and so don't allow for a lot of air circulation. So because of that, you know, they will sweat a lot and they'll get dehydrated faster.
Okay, so there are different scenarios that are going to warrant that second alarm, but a lot of the time, would you say it does revolve around heat?
In the summer, it definitely is going to be a lot of manpower second alarms, but sometimes the fire actually dictates second alarm. So if the fire is big enough, we need additional resources, then you're going to get a second alarm from there.
Okay. What are some of the resources that Tyler Fire uses to make sure firefighters are staying safe?
Every one of our trucks carry ice and water. Every day they replenish that. They also have supplements that they can put in their water bottles to help them hydrate. I won't name a company. And then beyond that, we bring out our rehab bus, which is at Station 4. And the rehab bus is air conditioned. It's a converted city transit bus. And so it has the same air conditioning that a city transit bus have. And we took out some seats so there'd be more room for firefighters and their gear. But we bring that bus out, they can get in there, they can cool down. But the bus also has an awning on the side of it. It has mist fans and a generator and a lot of cool towels that stay soaked in ice water that helps cool them down. You want to put those in your neck areas, under your arms, you know, on top of your head, places that you need to cool off faster. Your top of your head is one of those places.
And how often is the rehab bus brought out to scenes?
We get to a long campaign like this morning. The fire went on for a couple of hours. You know, because it was still kind of cool, they didn't call it right away, but they did call for it about midway during that incident. But a fire, if it was over 100 degrees, then we would definitely call it out earlier so that we can get it on the scene and be ready. So you can rehab in there. Also, part of rehabbing is medical monitoring. So if someone's blood pressure or their pulse rate is really high, we won't let them go back in after coming out until it gets down to a normal level.
Gotcha, so you're checking vitals and stuff in there.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about firefighter gear, because everybody can look at a firefighter and think, wow, they're wearing a lot of stuff, a lot of protective gear, but in reality, can you kind of break it down as to what they're wearing, how many pounds that might be, and how that overall does affect body temperature.
Absolutely. That gear protects them from the impingement of flame directly on them. It don't allow them to walk through fire, but it allows them to be able to sustain 800 degrees or more inside of home. So the big key is staying low, but that gear protects them in case there's a flash or something like that. They're able to get out before they actually get burnt. That gear will break down. It is not something that you can just walk through flames and stand up in fire in there. That is not what it's for. It's to protect them and give them an opportunity to get out. But it's about 70 pounds altogether. So with the pants, the ensemble of the pants and the coat, along with the air bottle on the back and their mask and helmet, all of those things add about 70 pounds to firefighters. So whatever your weight is, add 70 more pounds. And not only that, stressful conditions where you're exerting yourself, you're either directing a hose line or you're trying to look for extension by breaking into a ceiling or using an axe. So you're working while you have that gear on as well. And in that, you're doing something that ordinary people don't do all the time. You're doing something I call firefighter industrial athletes, because they have to be able to do those things while wearing that gear. So when they get out, first thing you'll notice they'll do is take that coat off, because it is protecting them. However, it's holding in their body heat as well, so it don't allow them to cool off. You want to get down to some type of skin, because your skin has a natural tendency of sweating, which allows you to cool, and then we use some of those other active cooling methods that I spoke of earlier.
Of course, and while y'all have lots of safety measures in place, you know, things happen. Like this morning, there was a firefighter, or at least this is what Randy told me, was transported to the hospital for possible heat exhaustion or dehydration, or maybe both. How often would you say that happens in the summertime?
Not as often as you think about firefighters being transported. The firefighters are very intelligent, so a lot of things they do is eat melons all day. They'll make sure they drink at least 2 bottles of water in the morning and 2 bottles of water in the afternoon. So they're hydrating all day because they know at any moment they may be called out to a fire. So the key on hydration is stay in front of it. Unfortunately for these guys, they were asleep when this call came in. So you don't have a chance to hydrate, you don't have a chance to do all those other things. So those people who were, the one person who did go to the hospital, more than likely for mostly dehydration, but I haven't got the report back on him. He didn't have a chance to hydrate because he was asleep during that time. So he woke from a dead sleep and to now I'm at a fire and I have to work. So it does happen, not as often as you think. I think this year we've only had 1 or 2 people to go and it was different things. One was a sprained ankle, another was a shoulder injury. The heat exhaustion, I think this is the 2nd person this year.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about what we saw last summer in terms of the wildfires. I mean, I feel like we were out covering wildfires every single day, and y'all were working all the time to contain those wildfires. If something like that happens again, does that stretch your crews thin and therefore make it more difficult to regulate firefighter body temperature because they can't do that active recovery, or what does that look like?
We still, I mean, if a firefighter goes down on you or they go to the hospital, you're not going to use them anyway. So that 1 bottle, 1 air bottle mode is something we just continue through the summer or whenever we have extreme heat. You want to give them an opportunity to rest, because most of the time after about they'll use 20 or 30 minutes for that air bottle. They get about a 15-20 minute rest period, and then they can go back in again. So they'll put their coat back on and they'll go back in and they'll work some more. So they rotate the crews out. That other crew that relieved them, now they're in rehab. And then you just keep rotating out until the fire is out or we've mitigated the incident.
So at the end of the day, the end all be all is that 1 bottle rule in the summer, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I think that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything else that you can think of in terms of heat safety? I mean, it's kind of, to me, it's an interesting topic because firefighters are obviously around heat all the time. That is in the job description, I would say. But then you add on this extra heat of working in a place like East Texas. And yeah, it can be dangerous. So I just thought it would be an interesting angle to see kind of some of the behind the scenes things that maybe people who are watching wouldn't really notice, but things that y'all do to keep your crews safe, ultimately so they can do their job.
Exactly. Well, you see the public, you know, during the high heat, a lot of times you'll see people without shirts or very tank tops or something. Firefighters don't get that opportunity to wear that. They have to wear their uniforms, and then if they go into a fire, they can go down to a t-shirt and then they put their PPE on, but that PPE does hold in that heat, and they're exerting themselves. So know that we always keep our personnel in mind whenever, and safety of them in mind. Without them, they can't help the public. So we have to look out for their safety so they can go out and help Mrs. Smith when she calls.